Good morning, it's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself, and today I want to talk about your inner child and sadness around your inner child. So, I haven't been talking about inner child work lately, but I want to do this video on inner child work because it's so important, right? It's so important as we're learning and growing and changing and creating new identities and letting go of old patterns, right? When you're doing the inner work, we're usually focused on doing, like finding, like changing, letting go, right? We're doing a lot of changing and growing, but it's very, very important when you're doing inner child work, a couple of times a week or every day, once every day, is to acknowledge that little child inside of you, right? That still lives there, that has feelings and that has hurts. This inner child has needs and wants. It has regrets. It has sadness and grief. And it has like a spirit that just needs comfort. It needs a mother. It needs love, right? So when we are a child, we get our comfort from our caregivers. And usually a baby particularly will get their comfort from their mother because it's a natural biological process that the baby nurses from the mother and cuddles into the mother as they're nursing, and this is a comforting as well as feeding. It's set up biologically for comfort so that the child feels comforted and safe, and this is also a need, right, that is being filled, a deep biological need, as opposed to just eating, right? So this is still going on for us today. This is why people overeat, right? They eat to try to fill their emotional holes, right? And that little baby is drinking milk not only to stay alive, but to fill its biological need of being comforted. So eating is a really good example of this, but it comes in many forms. So this inner child from birth, this baby, needs comfort, needs to be held, needs to be loved, needs to be taken care of, and needs to feel safe and like everything's okay. Now, as we grow up into the world, we may have a rocky start, we may have a great start. However we start, we just learn at some point along the way, and maybe we don't even learn this until we're grown with kids of our own. But at some point, either very, very early after the nursing and bonding process, or late, very, very late in the game, you learn that sometimes you have to take care of yourself, right? That your mom isn't going to take care of you and fill that need forever. That you're safe just where you are, that you have to fill your own needs, right? People learn this, and this is usually a transition in adolescence when the adolescence breaks free and starts to build their independence and become more independent in their own self as they grow into, teenagehood and then early adulthood. They're sort of living the independent life, and they've broken they've never broken the need, but they've broken the perpetual need for their mom or their caregivers to do it for them, to fill this cup, to totally take care of their whole life and keep them safe. They now have seen that they're independent enough to do it for themselves. But the bond and the need, that like biological need that you're born with, is never ever gone. Even if you're the most independent and the most self-sufficient person, you still have a deep biological need to be taken care of, to be comforted, to be soothed, to be loved, to feel safe, right? To feel accepted and taken care of, and just like everything is going to be okay. This is why very self-sufficient people also have partners, right? They They look for these needs in other ways. And maybe if some people just are independent, they don't have partners, they don't have other people in their life that they rely on, but maybe they have a very deep spiritual connection. Whatever it is, this need still exists, okay? This need, it needs to be filled. So your inner child is very important, especially when you're chronically ill, because I'm going to guess you're not super self-sufficient and independent and taking care of yourself, and you haven't had the progression from your young babyhood to your adult life that went smoothly and felt right? That you were accepting life as it came along at the right appropriate stages in your development, and this developed on time properly. This probably didn't happen with you. And as a result, you're even more needy, you have more of a need to have that need still filled by somebody else, right? By ultimately that caregiver figure who's going to comfort you, soothe you, coddle you, love you, take care of you, tell you it's going to be okay, help you, right? This is a deep, deep biological need. So I'm not saying some people think oh, you just want everybody to take care of you, you want pity, you want sympathy, you need comfort, you need too much, you're not independent enough. This is not that lecture. This is a real biological thing going on. You literally are born needing this. Okay, so if you haven't gone through all the developmental steps in your life properly, then you haven't been able to develop your own sense of safety and your own independence and your own ability to self-soothe, self-care, self-approve and love and take care of yourself and tell yourself everything's going to be okay. And then maybe you still rely on parents, and maybe you rely on partners for the other part of it. But this is real, it's biological, and it's important that we know that when we're chronically ill, this need is deeper, okay? The need is just deeper. It's more pronounced, and we feel more of a hole when we're not getting it, when we're not being filled up, taken care of, helped, loved, soothed, connected with, understood by others. So there's nothing wrong with that, but that is the reality. So you have got to, every day, several times a week, whenever you can think of it, address this inner child. It's almost like a re-parenting and a re-growing up. We've got to look at this inner child, and we've got to remind ourselves to give it what it needs, okay? So what are the things that the baby needs? What are the things that the little child or the infant needs? It needs comfort, nurturing, to be held, to feel safe, to feel loved, to feel understood, to feel approved of, accepted, to feel a sense of belonging, right? Safety. This is what the child needs, and this is what you've got to give yourself. So you have to start finding ways to give yourself all that you actually literally need. And until you fill this, you cannot go on to develop properly, right? So when we're chronically ill, we're often not only physically stuck in a pattern we're playing out, but we're emotionally stuck as a child, okay? And that child is looking for their needs to be filled. They're looking for security, they're looking for love, they're looking for safety, they're looking for nurturing, comfort, understanding, connection. Okay, so this is normal. Often children, if you think back to even the terrible twos, as early as you can, when the child starts to demand ways to get attention, they will cry, they will scream, they will throw tantrums, they will lash out, they will react, they will not listen, they will do all kinds of things, right? They will act even younger than their age. They will do all kinds of things to get what they need, and they just do it. Now we, as adults, also lash out, we cry, we scream, we may, try different tactics and different manipulations to get what we need. And that is not a healthy way as a grown-up to go about it. Children don't know any better. This is why they use these primitive ways of getting that need filled, right? But grown-ups, you standing here today with this chronic illness, need to be aware that your inner child wants to be seen and heard and felt and loved and acknowledged, and it needs to feel safe, right? And you need to find either relationships that can fill you with that, but most often those relationships are tired out when you're chronically ill, right? Your partners, your family, your closest people wear out after a while, and we end up feeling like the people who once filled our needs have abandoned us because they can no longer meet the needs, and we feel rejected because they're not fulfilling their end of the deal. But because it's gone on so long, who can blame them, right? This is where you get caregivers fatigue, and this is a real thing. No human can meet your needs this long when you're chronically ill and when you're going through a chronic condition. So we need to take it on ourselves to be our own parents, right? Our own caregivers. We need to fill this cup ourselves. So how do we do that? Okay, so we do that very simply, okay? Very, very simply. The first definite way that you must do this is by just being there, not abandoning, staying through all the uncomfortable feelings of sadness, grief, pain, suffering, anger, frustration. Staying. This child is throwing these fits, right? This is the child that needs the parent to put their hand on their back and stay through it all. Stay through the tantrum, stay through the frustration, stay through it, not explode, not take them to the room for a timeout, not whatever, right? This child doesn't need your criticism, so don't self-judge and self-criticize or isolate from yourself or give yourself a timeout or tell yourself to cool down or abandon yourself in any way. This is the number one rule when we're doing inner child work, is just to stay. Stay with yourself with loving kindness. Just stay there, experiencing it. Let this child experience and feel everything that they need to feel and experience, and you just stay there. Just like a parent could stay there through that whole uncomfortable thing, and the child will be much calmer at the end and learn to trust that they don't need to get all that worked up because the parent is going to be there. This parent is not going to abandon them, right? So no matter how badly you act or react or think, you just stay there with yourself. Let it happen. Be patient, be kind, and be unconditionally there. That's it. That's the number one rule, okay? The second thing that we need to do is just try to remember to self-soothe. What does self-soothe mean? It means, first of all, loving yourself, okay? Giving yourself a smile, a kind word, encouragement, and doing something for yourself that feels good. Get yourself a tea. Sit down and breathe. Read a magazine. Do a book, have a bath. These are those self-care practices that are kind of surface things, but it's the intent behind it, which is what you're doing. You're giving yourself some self-soothing anything. Now, people often turn to food and they often turn to alcohol. I'm not talking to do something self-soothing that is dangerous or negative for your overall goal. I'm saying pick something that can soothe you. Okay, so maybe you think, oh, the only thing that can serve me is all this pop and chips or some negative thing or going and smoking, right? That's not what I'm talking about here. I'm saying pick something that can fill that and truly soothe yourself, that is kind and loving, to give yourself a break and love. Just like a parent might say to a little child, come on, you've had a hard day. Sit on my lap. Let me rub your hair. I'll get you your favorite drink and we'll just sit down and watch a little show together and snuggle up. Come on, let mommy just make you feel a little better right now. Okay, you've had a hard day. You give your feet a little rub and cuddle ya up for a little bit, right? This is just what you're doing to yourself. giving yourself that boost, right? So the first thing is to not leave. The second thing is to self-soothe with some kind, loving actions that will make yourself feel better. And the third thing is self-love. Give yourself love. Go literally to a mirror, look yourself in the eyes and say, I love you. I love you. I love you more than anything. You're the most important thing to me. Everything's gonna be okay. I love you. I will never leave you. I love you unconditionally. Right? You tell yourself out loud, you say this to yourself in a mirror. You literally give yourself the I love you that you need. So let's just think for a child for a moment. What is the most important thing to help develop this child properly and to build trust and safety in a child? So we're there. We sit unconditionally with them through the tantrums, through the crying, through the fits, through the whatever it is. We're just there. We give presence, right? That's number one. Give your unconditional presence. Number two, we do something kind to them. We soothe them with a pat on the back, sitting them down, giving them a little blanket, right? We do something kind and loving for that child to feel better. And number three, we say, I love you. We verbalize it in words. I love you more than anything. You're going to be okay. You're just my favorite person in the whole world. I love you. That's what you would say to a little kid. Mommy loves you. I love you. You're going to be okay. I'm here for you. Right? So we give the presents. We do something super wonderful to make that person feel better. We show them that physical, right? We give them the soothing, and then we express how much we love them unconditionally. And that's all that a child needs to be okay. And then you will see the tantrums, the crying, the tears, the nervousness, whatever, it goes away, and the child is able to get up and go back and play, and everything's okay in the child's world. And that is also what you need as a grown person with chronic illness. You need to do this for yourself and mean it, so that you begin to trust that you're there for yourself, that your presence is there, your actual words and your unconditional love is there, and that you become adept at being able to soothe yourself and give yourself what you need in that moment to feel a little better. And when all those have happened, you will see that also your anger will pass, your grief will pass, your sadness will pass, your fear will pass, and you will be able to get back up off the couch, just like a child, and go about your day. So I hope this video has been helpful. I hope you see that the inner child is not there to, this inner child is not this thing that is against you, right? Causing your life problems, and you need to do all this work around the inner child. And oh my God, children are so much work. Children are work. Let's be honest. All children are work. Your inner child is work. It doesn't want to be ignored any longer, right? Give it presence. Give it love. Show it kindness and love. Do something soothing for this child, and it will go on and play its merry way. So we have to do that for ourselves, okay? This child is inside you, and it needs all this from you. You are the parent now. You are the person, the only person now who can give this to yourself. Yes, you'll find friends and partners and people along the way that can help, comfort, or soothe you, or love you, or tell you these words, but you must now rely on yourself to do it every time, every day. See the inner child, hear the inner child, love the inner child, be present with the inner child, accept the inner child, allow the inner child, and just love it. Be there and love this child, and it will help you heal in ways that you cannot believe right now, okay? It will help you heal. If you love this child like your own baby, then you will heal quicker, faster, and easier. I promise. This child needs you. This child is trying to heal, and it has all these terrible feelings built up along the way as it goes along. It's hard for this child, to be going through this and to not be healing just as hard as it is for you. And it needs you, right? You need you. So give yourself the gift of you.